everybody, this is Kenny Jahng here. This morning we have the great opportunity to sit down with Bryan Miles, who is the one that everyone is turning to, it seems like, these days for executive assistance, virtual help to turbocharge people's businesses and help get those processes in place so that you can focus on what you do best. Bryan, welcome today.
Thank you, Kenny. Great to be here.
I just have a couple questions that we can share with our audience today. And the first is just tell us a little bit about MAG services and what are some of the sweet spots for what you guys do. And like, when should someone think about coming to you guys?
You bet. The MAG Group is essentially a parent company to two separate brands. The first brand works with businesses, large and small, from startups to Fortune 500 companies and everything in between. It's called eaHELP. It's for virtual executive assistants, and basically we source virtual executive assistants in the United States with organizations that are actually global. We've got organizations that are in Australia, Italy, Canada, and the United States currently. And we just basically serve them in all sorts of capacities that a typical on-site assistant or secretary could do for her. In addition to that, our second brand is a church-specific vertical for us. It's MAGbookkeeping, and it's virtual bookkeeping for churches. And we also do payroll as well.
Great. Let's talk about a specific engagement potential. Like, can you share an example of how an EA can actually help expand the capacity of someone's ability to connect with others? So in terms of communications, whether it be internal with staff or their peers or external with community members, what does that actually look like for some of the tasks that an EA might be able to take on?
Yeah, that's a really hot topic with potential clients of ours when they approach us, because most of them they've got communication internally and externally with partners, with peers, and oftentimes why they come to us is because they're kind of dropping the ball as it relates to communication. And how we basically work to solve that with our leaders is we deploy an EA that's assigned to work with them, and they basically take ownership of the inbox for them, and they also will field voicemails and basically just kind of serve as a I hate the term gatekeeper, but essentially kind of serve as a go-to to help them communicate better. And so what happens is, say in the course of a day, if a leader's getting 150 to 200 emails, your EA is basically able to kind of digest that down to 10 or 15 emails that need to get done. And the rest of it's just stuff that needs to be read later or reviewed or pitched in the trash. And that's just a really practical way to do that. Also, what we've found to be the case from a communication standpoint, leaders in general, when stuff hits their inbox or their voicemail, it's really nothing more than kind of workflow routing. It's more to delegate than it is for them to actually make a decision. There are certain things that will hit their inbox that they're forced to, they have to make the decision because they're the leader. But oftentimes it's nothing more than workflow routing. And so a good EA that kind of understands, what needs to happen can route that stuff accordingly. So that's one way that we see communication being enhanced when you deploy a virtual executive assistant. Another thing, just in general, is that a good virtual executive assistant that has been kind of working with a client for a while, with a leader, will be able to articulate a lot of the corporate values and reinforce them with other kind of employees or leaders in the process. And I found that to be the case in my own company, that my executive assistant kind of is my eyes and ears when I can't be there. And she's able to reinforce kind of, the things that we value from a corporate standpoint.
Interesting. And then so some of those communication protocols, do you guys go through any training of the EAs, or do you only vet, when you're in the hiring process on your side, do you only vet certain type of EAs that have those type of specific skills?
Yeah, I guess maybe it's part of the economy and the types of EAs we go after, but we are with us. We have a pretty robust process for how we take them through what we do. And in that process, we expect them to have a certain level of knowledge as it relates to technology. and other kind of aspects or domain expertise when they come on board. If they don't have that, we typically don't hire them to train them. We bring them on with the understanding that they have this kind of, and they have a proven proficiency with it.
Gotcha. Nice.
And I'll take it a step further. I mean, our interviewing process is quite robust. We make sure that just a kind of a practical thing. If you can't Skype with us, then you're not virtual enough.
Right.
There's just simple things. If we kind of make it unique for how you find and send us stuff for your cover letter and for your resume. And what we're doing is we're creating an obstacle, candidly, for EAs to problem solve. And so the ones that follow the process to connect with us, then that's the first kind of gate that they clear. And then we've got several things internally that we do with our team to make sure that we're vetting them. And at the rate that we're bringing on new clients, we have to have a good bench ready of virtual executive assistants to deploy and to assign to our clients when they're coming on board. So we're always hiring, and we're actually very grateful to be in that position right now. And to be clear, all we hire are American that are here in the United States. We don't hire folks that are in other parts of the world. We just feel like we want to impact the United States economy, and we've been really pleased with that result so far.
Nice. A lot of the people in the audience for who's going to be watching this are communicators, and so social media is a responsibility that these guys have to handle. Can we talk a little bit about what you're seeing for church communicators that are hiring your service? These leaders, what are they doing in terms of social media management and assistance when it comes to outsourcing that to your staff versus things that they keep on board and they keep ownership of on their daily basis? What is the ideal configuration for social media for someone? What are the types of activities that they can actually give to the EA? And what are some of the things that people should not really be thinking about giving to an EA and they should keep ownership by themselves?
Well, I think, at least from our perspective, as we've worked with organizations and especially churches that do social media and they do it well, I'm sure it's quite more complex, but we see it in kind of two pieces. One is, okay, who's developing the strategy, and then who's actually executing on the strategy. And in most instances, the leader or the church is the one that basically develops the strategy. And whether that's a one-day workshop internally or a two-day, or they have an ongoing relationship with a social media consultant, that's all kind of done by them. But then there's this component of execution of social media that I think we do a really good job with, and we actually do this for several organizations, where basically one of our virtual executive assistants is really their social media administrator. And they do things like, scheduling posts for Facebook pages or proofreading a blog and then adding the tags and, just making sure that the content looks good from an SEO standpoint, to, scheduling tweets, retweeting content from the church's friends that are out there. And so what we find is, the strategy is still oftentimes left to the church to kind of sort out, but the execution of it, which is really the lion's share of, getting it done and getting it out there and seen, it can be done virtually. And we do this quite often with kind of our virtual executive assistants.
Great. I mean, and so in my experience as a consultant and coach for social media and strategic communications, I love hearing that because my part typically is to set the strategy with the actual client and leader, and the part that typically gets overwhelming is the actual execution, right? Once you build the content, is how do you actually schedule it out, push it out? How do you filter your streams so that you're catching questions from your community and your followers? And it seems like that's the type of stuff that EAs are perfectly poised to do for a client of yours.
And I think that, Kenny, that's true of many things that a leader finds themselves with, each day. They have a lot of strategy and a lot of things that they're taking a long view on, but they need help kind of executing the day-to-day. And I think that we serve as a good scalable solution for leaders that need that.
Right. Well, thanks for checking in with us today, Bryan. I just love sitting down with you. And last time we gave a big hug to each other in Catalyst East, so I'm going to give you a big virtual hug here. And hope to see you again soon.
You're a good man, Kenny. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too.